Hey there, fellow artists. Welcome back, or if you're new here, hello. I am a fellow artist myself, Carrie Lynn M. Today, I just want to share with you, this is an amazing resource for artists, if you're an artist, if you want to, or even if you have already been selling your own artwork, okay? This is a complete and completely free business plan for artists. It's specifically designed for artists like you in mind. So like I said, if you want to start selling your art, which if you do and you need more tips about how to physically go about selling your art, whether you want to do it like online or in person or a mix of both, I do have other videos on a lot of tips for that, so be sure to check those out as well. But whether you're new to the game, if you haven't even started selling your own artwork yet, or you have, if you're an experienced artist that you have been selling your artwork for a little while, and you're interested in kind of taking your sales like to the next step and really figuring out who you are, not just who you are as an artist, but who you are as a business. Because selling art is a business, right? Which is why it's super helpful and I think important to make ourselves a business plan. Even we may not think of selling our art as like a business, but it is, right? And so we do kind of need to think of things a little bit businessy. I know it's hard for us as creative people to like have two hats, you know, our creative hat and then our business hat. But this is something that's going to help you put that business hat on, if you will. So I'm going to take you over here to my laptop. And this is a blog post found on my website, which of course I'm going to link this below, you guys, like right at the top. Below, so that you can get to this webpage and you can download this free business plan, because hey-oh, that's what you're here for, right? But when you click on that link, you're going to come to my blog on my website here, and you're going to come to the post on how to make a business plan with the free printable business plan. Now, it is printable. It is a printable business plan if you want to print it and write on it, you know, kind of manually, I guess. That is one way you can do it. However, if you don't have a printer, don't panic. There's also ways to edit this document digitally, which I'm going to show you as well. But let's go ahead and scroll down. It's a over 10 pages business plan template, however you want to say it. The ultimate free business plan for artists. And I did make this whole business plan document myself. And I am a fellow artist, as I already said in the intro. So I know these are like the things that I like to think about and write down when I'm trying to come up with how I'm going to sell myself as an artist and how I see myself as an artist and have a business as an artist. So these are things that I really think are important, just fellow artist to artist. So these are just a few of the pages found in it. Of course, there's links that you can download the business plan right here. And then we can also scroll down if you want to read more about what is actually included in the whole business plan. We've got interactive pages, which are just, you know, kind of like worksheet or workshop. I guess worksheet is probably the right word. Worksheet type pages for you to kind of edit and write on to get your brainstorming going, get your ideas flowing, right? So it's just an overview of all of the pages included. I will go to open the document in a second and go through each of the pages with you here in the video. But just so that you know, these are all the pages that we're going to go over. Now, like I said, I also include in the blog post, and I'll go over with you really quickly here. You can print, at least you should be able to, print the whole document after you open it, if you've got a printer available. If not, sometimes you can go to like a local library. Sometimes they charge, sometimes they don't. Like a small fee per page if you want to print something there. Or you can go to like somewhere like Staples or like office, like some type of office supply store. Sometimes they'll print things for you for a fee if you do want to have this printed and you don't have a printer available. Otherwise, there are ways that you can just save this document to your device and you can write on it digitally. It's a little bit more involved. You have to know a little bit about technology to know how to do that. But once I download and I show you on here on the video, I will show you ways that I go about editing it here on my Mac computer. I will say I do recommend if you're planning on editing the document digitally, editing and filling out your whole business plan on a digital device, I recommend having some type of larger screen because a phone screen, phones are kind of tiny, right? So it's really hard to write on a phone screen unless you've got like one of those really big, like the Samsung Note, like the ones that are basically the size of an iPad. But if you got like a normal phone, it can be a little bit tricky. There are ways to make it work, but it can be tricky to write on it digitally, which is why I recommend using a tablet. Any type of tablet. It doesn't have to be an iPad, but it can be an iPad or a laptop, especially one with a touchscreen. I don't have one because I have a Mac. But even if you don't have a touchscreen computer, you can type on the document as well, which is what I'm going to show you. So if we scroll up, you can use any of the buttons to download the business plan in full. And your device should here pull up the entire document for you. So here, like up here in the corner, you can see that I've got a print button and a download button. So if you wanted to print it, you could just hit the print button. If you're hooked up to a printer, if you've got like a wireless printer, you can send it over to your printer just like that, easy peasy. If not, and you do want to write on the document digitally, make sure you save it first. So I would hit download. Okay, so here I have downloaded, and I can zoom out a little bit, the full document. I have it saved on my computer already, so that then I can go, and again, we'll go over the pages, all the pages in a second, but I just want you to know how to edit it digitally because I get asked these questions a lot. Look at like the top. It just depends on what device you're using, you guys. Again, I'm using a MacBook here. Somewhere at the top of the screen, most devices come with a built-in editor of some type. Here I've got a markup toolbar. So if I click on that, I can come over here, and then from there should be like, I've got like a drawing or a sketch button that I can, it's hard on a computer, but I could, you know, write on the document. Or since I'm on a computer, you can also do some typing. So on any of the pages here, I could go on ahead and I could type in, you know, my plans are ... You know, you can type on any of the pages. I'll just go on ahead and delete this stuff for now though, so that we can go through, and I'm going to show you page by page now, the ultimate free business plan for artists. So, and as we start to go through these pages, maybe if you want to print or save the document yourself, and as I go through each item here in the video, you can fill things out alongside me, right? We of course first have an introduction page that you can kind of look through. Just gives you some extra tips on, you know, printing or editing the whole document digitally. We have a table of contents. If you print your document out, obviously you won't be able to use the table of contents like interactive, but if you're using it digitally, you can go ahead and click on each thing and it will take you to those, you know, pages in the actual document. But again, let's just go through like one page at a time now, just so you kind of get an idea, get to see what all is actually, what's the content of this, right? What's actually included in this whole document. So the first page we have is about your artist's introductions, right? Because before we can start to figure out what your business plan, your plan of action is actually going to be, we need to figure out who you are as an artist, because that's really important to your brand name, right? As artists, branding is really important because it's probably just going to be you, right? You are the head, you are the whole encompassment, if that's even a word, of your business. You are the head of the table, and everybody's going to be looking at you when they look at your artwork, right? It's not like we're looking at some big, like, booming industry or some company like Target, right? It's not like you're the CEO of Target. You are the face of your own brand, and it's basically, in most cases, just you running the whole business, right? You're the one that makes the art, you're the one that sells the art, you're the one that markets your art. It's you. So branding is really important as an artist, you guys. So there are a couple of questions on this page just to get you going. Just starting to get a sense of who you are as an artist and to start building your brand. On the next page, then, we have our business introductions. Now is when, if you've already got, you know, a business going, you can kind of just fill this out pretty quickly because you already know how you like to sell your art. You already know probably what your name as a business is. But if you're still new to selling your artwork and such, this is your chance to start figuring out how you're going to brand yourself, not just as an artist, but brand yourself as a business as an artist. So for example, here you can brainstorm some possible names for your business. Of course, you can always go with your actual name or your actual, your artist name. Or if you like what I say for like my business as an artist, I like to call my business Canvas by Carrie, because my name is Carrie and I do things on canvas. So that's the name that I, once upon a time came up with. Very simple, easy to remember, easy to identify. I've also seen a lot of artists will say like their full name and then just art on the end. Like I could have said that my business name could have just been Carrie Lynn M Art, like John Smith Art. Like that could be all it could be, or it could be John Smith Art Company or something like that. If you do like a certain medium of art, you could say like if you do like glass blowing or something, for example, you could say Glassworks by Christine or whatever your name is, right? So from there you can come up with those names for your business. You can put a star next to which one you choose, which obviously you could do this more on a separate piece of paper if you come up with more than 4 possible names, but you can kind of figure out or start planning how you're going to sell art. Are you going to do it on your website? Are you going to do it on an online marketplace, for example, Etsy? Are you going to sell your artwork in like galleries, local or international galleries? And then of course, all the types of art that you will sell, which you should know by now as an artist, what your specialty is, what type of art you actually make. So moving on, we have market understanding. This is also very important as a business side of things, not so much as artists, because every business has to figure out who their market is. Not just artists, is everybody. And you should also just be aware, you guys, as artists, just be aware that your art is not going to be for everybody. All right, you can't just say, oh, the entire United States or the entire world is my market. You have to be a little bit more specific than that, because your art style is not going to be everybody's taste. I'm sorry, but it's the truth, right? So if you're somebody who sells like abstract paintings or something, you can say your market is people who are interested in the abstract art form. And you can also go like even more specifically. We want to get as specific as possible. I know it's hard to try to figure out who your market is, especially if you haven't sold any artwork yet, but you can kind of figure out who your customers might be by, what type of styles do they like? What type of style is your artwork? Again, if you were selling abstract art, then your customers are probably going to be interested in abstract art. Not everybody likes abstract, so that kind of narrows things down a little bit. You can narrow things down a little bit further when you say, I'm going to sell to customers worldwide, like if you're selling online, or just in your like local country, just in your like state or your region, or just, very, very locally, like in your city, your town, or just like wherever you take your art to if you like travel with your art or something, that sort of thing, right? You can narrow things down even further by saying, my customers are going to be buying pieces that are generally in this price range, right? Because some customers have the means and the interest to buy really high quality and super, high priced items, and other customers not so much. They like a little bit more on the cheaper side, the less expensive side. But nevertheless, you're still going to want to have that quality there, though, right? It's not just because it's a lower quality that you're pricing it lower. It just might be that, you might be limiting yourself to just your local area, like a local city, and maybe that people in your city are not super high income, right? So you want to kind of price things in the range that they'll be most comfortable buying from you. However, if you're going to sell to people like in your total country or worldwide, then you have a little bit more freedom. You can pick what your price range is going to be. Another thing you should kind of note with your price range, a lower price range, if you sell things for a little bit less expensive, a little bit more inexpensive items, you're going to sell a higher quantity of items, right? If you sell in a higher price range, you're going to sell fewer pieces because, right, it's more expensive and less people are going to be able to achieve or be able to reach the level where they can purchase in, that higher price range. So you're going to make fewer sales, but then you have to remember that the price has to make up for it, right? So it's up to you, whatever your price range wants to be, or maybe you go somewhere in the middle. Look around, kind of research what other people are selling their artwork for online, if they make pieces, similar to you. Again, if you were an abstract painter, look up different abstract paintings online, perhaps on Etsy, because it is a very large selling platform, let me tell you. See what other people are selling their artwork for, and then from there you can kind of decide, do you want to go a little bit lower than that? Do you want to maybe go a little bit higher than that? Or you just want to stick to like that middle range of what you're seeing online. Now, if we keep going down, another page we have on competition and collaboration. We know as businesses, just business in general, that competition is out there, right? We could say like Target versus Myers, if you've ever been to those stores. They're very similar. Or small grocery stores versus Walmart. That's the sort of thing we're talking about, right? Things that are really similar, or businesses that are really similar, and they're kind of in competition with one another. And as artists, we need to take that into account, that there's a lot of other artists out there, and we need to somehow distinguish ourselves from the crowd so that we can actually, sell something. So my recommendation, you can choose like more than one option here. But my recommendation is you just pick one and you really focus on that one thing to distinguish yourself from the rest of the crowd. For example, if you think that your artwork is really unique because it's very sustainable, maybe you work with like recycled products or something, customers will probably be interested in that, and other artists may not do that. So that's something that is unique to you and to your work, that distinguishes you, pulls you out from the crowd. Or, maybe you see someone that is selling, like if you were selling abstract art, maybe you see someone who is selling abstract art for quite a high price. Maybe you want to offer something similar at a lower price, right? That kind of differentiates you from the rest of your competition, right? So that's why I say just choosing one of these options, or if you come up with something else, is kind of the best tactic, so that then you can really, hone in and really focus on that one thing that's going to make you stand out. Because if you try to do everything at once to differentiate yourself, you'll be like running in circles. Now, on the other hand, while competition is a big part of business in general, I've also read, and I have to remember the book, I think it was the one that I read that it was Things I Wish I Knew When I Was 20 or something. I'll post a picture of the book there if you can see it. But one thing I read in that book that really kind of changed my outlook on selling my art and just being like someone in business in general, right? Having your own business in general. Competition is out there, it is a thing. However, collaboration can be even stronger. We don't need to be at odds with our competition and like be complete enemies all the time. Sometimes collaboration makes for really great results. It really does. And I believe the example in the book that the writer she had used was that she was teaching university classes, and she had all of her students in one of her classes get into very small groups of like 5 or so, and there were so many groups, and they were each given one puzzle, a jigsaw puzzle, a 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle that they needed to be, put together. However, she had taken all of the puzzles from all of the groups and mixed every single one of the pieces up together and divided it back amongst the groups. So everybody had each other's pieces. And in that case, everybody in every group was forced to come together and collaborate and work together to trade different pieces and physically help each other out to finish the task of finishing each of their own puzzles. I really do like that example from that book. So that's why I included this here in this document for you guys in the business plan, because there are ways that we can collaborate with other artists, right? They don't have to be our like, oh, my enemy, my competition all the time. We can collaborate with them to make some like really nice stuff. Maybe you collaborate with someone to make like literally a big piece of art together. Or, maybe you get together with a group of artists in your local area and you host some type of event where you're all involved. And then when customers come, each of you are going to benefit and each of you are going to make sales together. So I think it's really, really important that you really think about this one, you guys, and brainstorm a couple of different ways that you can actually collaborate with other artists and not just think of them as competition, but think of ways that you can maybe be the person that reaches out to who you think is your competition and say, hey, why don't we try working together to accomplish this task? The task probably being selling your artwork, right? Okay, moving on now to the marketing and advertising page. Now, listen, as an artist, it's not a requirement to advertise. It's not. And there are actually a lot of free ways to quote unquote advertise your work. For example, I have some listed here, like creating a personal website, doing some blogging. Like I showed you, I literally brought you this document from my own blog, so you know that I have a blog for my own artwork. You can post on social media, share your artwork and share it around with different people on the socials. On the socials. You can even enter contests, like free contests that you submit your artwork and you might get a chance for it to be displayed in some type of exhibition or online, whatever. So then you can come up with 3 more ways. I'll give you the chance to be creative on that one, on ways you can, quote, advertise for free. You can also think of some paid ways that you might advertise your art. If you don't want to pay for advertising at all, you don't have to. You don't have to worry about this. But these are just some ways that you can maybe boost your sales and kind of get your artwork out there a little bit more, get some more eyes on it so that you potentially might lead to more sales, right? I've got 2 pages on here for financials. This is, of course, pretty simple, the budgeting part of things, which is another key part of making a business plan. I've got the first page here is for your business budget. So these are the things that you would need to potentially pay for to keep the business side of things as your business as an artist going. For example, if you do want to run a personal website, there are ways to have a free website, but if you want to upgrade to do your own paid website, you can do that. Maybe with some of those, if you want to try out some of those paid advertising ways that we just mentioned on the last page, you can list that below. All of these things, and probably some more that you might come up with, it just depends. Everybody's business is going to be a little bit different, so these are just a couple of different ideas to get you going. But put down all of the items that are going to be that you need to pay monthly, right? For each month to run the business side of your art business. And then, of course, on the next page, we have continued off of that, the creative budget plan, right? Which is the other side. Remember our 2 hats? 2 hats. You have your business hat and you have your creative hat. So then you can list here separately all of the things you need to physically create your art every month, right? If you need like paintbrushes, paints, clay, frames, all the things that you need to physically create your art. And again, it's going to depend based on what type of art you actually make. And then at the bottom, of course, you can total everything up for your monthly budget that you can kind of work with. And of course, your budget might change from month to month, so you can print these or save these pages multiple times and maybe edit them multiple different times. Now for our last workshop page, we have marking milestones, because I think it's really important kind of just to give yourself a little pat on the back and just recognize your hard work, because selling art, you guys, is really difficult. It really is. So you need to acknowledge that. Stop and give yourself praise, right? For when you reach certain milestones, when you reach your goals. So here you can kind of list out, I listed a couple of different templated statements for you to fill out. Selling my artwork in this many cities, creating these many pieces of art for sale, etc., etc. Plus, you can write down 3 more specific goals specific to you that you would like to eventually reach. And don't worry about like, oh, I need to reach these goals within the next week or month or something. You can give yourself as much time as you need to reach these goals. Don't put a limit on it, right? Don't say, I need to make these many art sales within the year, because, you can only control to an extent how many sales that you make. But once you make your goal, whether it takes a year, 2 years, maybe 5 years, I don't know, it might take a while. But it's really important that once you reach that goal, that you recognize it and you give yourself a pat on the back, right? So that then you stay motivated to keep working and keep creating. So that is the full document. I hope you guys really enjoy and put this document to good use. And of course, like I said, I have other videos with lots of different tips if you need some tips on how to actually go about selling your artwork, whether it's in person, online, or a combination of both. So check out those videos in the description as well, and I hope you guys all sell a lot of artwork, and I wish you the best of luck in your endeavors, my fellow artists.